Welcome back to another Lab tutorial. Hope you all had a great holiday break. We're back with a quick one for you. And in fact, we're going to try and do more of these really short tutorials for you guys. We've been getting some requests for just really quick tips and tricks in addition to a lot of the in-depth stuff that we do. So try to shake things up here in the new year. And this particular video tutorial is about retaining, maintaining, reclaiming some headroom. It's about keeping headroom in your tracks, in your music, okay? And that's necessary. You know, you get through your whole mix down process, you got to have some headroom there so you can make things louder in your master. If you don't, then things are just going to kind of suck. And that's just how it is. So what we wanted to do is just show you one more way that you can reclaim some lost headroom through a simple EQ tool, and that's it. Now, we've shown you tricks like this in the past, from cutting out unwanted or unnecessary low-end frequencies to reclaim a little bit of headroom, as well as to maintain a cleaner mix, fight muddiness proactively by rolling off any unwanted or unnecessary low-end presence in all of your sounds. It's a great way to increase the overall power of your track as well. And it all has to do with how our ears process these things alongside our brains. But there is another thing you can do in any EQ to reclaim bandwidth that might be lost, and that is to roll off the unwanted or unnecessary high frequency elements in your mix. Okay. Now we've just loaded up a single sample here. It's a shaker, and we're not going to show it to you in a beat or in the context of music because that changes things. So all we want you to do is focus on the decibel level and the overall aesthetic and sound of this sample. Okay? If this is still a pleasing sound to you at the end of this, then this is a great technique for you to use. And you might be surprised at just how much headroom you can reclaim from something like this. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look. And we're going to have you focus in on this volume meter here. Actually, down here you can see numbers associated with it. So right here you can see that it's basically capping out at max at 0 dB. Okay, and what we want to do is look at our sound and listen to our sound honestly to find the most amount of frequencies that we can eliminate from this whole spectrum and still have the sound come across with the same overall character and quality. Okay. Now, this is a lesson in reducing or increasing headroom through reducing high frequencies. So let's just do that and not focus on anything else. We'll go ahead and we'll turn on our low pass, which is what you use to cut out high frequencies. Okay, and we're just going to slowly roll this down. And you can see, we're starting here above where we need to be. Just going to roll this down. Okay, now right about here, you can start to hear a difference in sound. Okay, now let's go ahead and reset our meter here and play back our sound and see where we are. Okay, so we are a few decibels lower. And if we bypass this EQ, you can hear that it has altered the overall sound, but just slightly. It actually hasn't changed it by a whole note or anything. We're talking it's just a little bit flat. So it's in the same, if we were to, assess this as we would a synth, for instance, it hasn't changed a whole key. Okay, and we might just back this down just a touch more just to show you where the acceptable lines are here. And that was a very small adjustment. Let's just listen. Let's bypass that. Okay, now you could also roll off some of the bottom end here. But what you might be noticing is that as you're rolling off the bottom end, you're affecting a lot of the body. Okay, and you can disclose this kind of information. Here, let's start playing the sound again. Turn this off here. And you can see there's actually plenty happening in this bottom end here of this sound. If we roll this back down to where we were, I think it's at about 30, you'll see that you really don't see any of that stuff. But this is why your sound changes so much when you start rolling off the bottom end, because there's a lot of stuff happening down here. Okay? And that's with most sounds. So let's do this a little bit more intelligently. If we're going to roll some off. Okay, that sounds about fair. It sounds about the same. Now let's do an A-B comparison here just to see if it's actually done anything for us. And you'll see why we're focusing on the high frequency sounds today. So here we are, without that low end rolled off, 3.9. Negative 3.9. Now, let's just go ahead and add or take away those frequencies and listen to our sound again. We'll reset our counter here. Okay, so it's actually just a little bit louder, and that's, it's kind of to be expected. You can reclaim some lost power through cutting out low frequencies, but that actually did not help us reduce the decibels. Now, will it help us in making a cleaner mix? Sure. So should you go ahead and do it? Sure, why not? It hasn't affected the overall sound. But the big winner here, obviously, clear away, is the almost 4 decibel drop in our overall volume level simply by stripping away the highest frequency sounds here. Again, slightly noticeable difference. If we want to roll that up, we can do that. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's do an A-B comparison before and after. Okay, and that sounds almost identical, and we have saved over 2 decibels of headroom space. So even if you aren't willing to sacrifice just a little bit of sound, or sound quality, or character, or presence, or whatever we're going to classify these things as, you're still saving a bunch of CPU. Decibels. Now, here's the other thing, is that when this is added back to the mix, you may find, and you probably will, that you can actually back this off even more, perhaps even more than we did in this lesson. And maybe not a whole lot more, but it's a very small difference can make a big difference in decibels. I'll kind of go for the middle ground here. So it looks like we're reclaiming about 3 decibels by doing this, okay, by cutting out these highs. Cutting out these lows really didn't help us all in the decibel area at all, not even a little bit, really, but it will help you maintain a cleaner mix. Okay, so that's it. That is one of the quickest ways for you to reclaim headroom. Now, what you don't want to do is go a little bit too far with a whole bunch of sounds in your mix, because what you're going to do is you're going to take away that sizzle and life that comes into these sounds, that breathiness in vocals, and you need those things. You need the edges of sounds. You really do. So don't go too far. But remember, there's almost always going to be some room to take something away there, and that's going to give you so much more room in your mix, and it's going to make your music so much more powerful. And this is just one more of those little tricks that they use in the high-end studios to make your music sound so good. So we hope this helped. We hope it may have cleared up a little bit of confusion in this area. And we definitely encourage you to put this into action in your very next project and see if it helps. All right, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.